The day my little sister started kindergarten. I cut my hand on some shattered glass and the blood wouldn't stop. As I lay there in the bathtub fading, I called my mom for help. On the other end, I could hear laughter and chatter. Willow, are you pretending to be sick again? Can you stop being so selfish and ruin your sister's special day? Beep, beep. She hung up on me. I watched as the warm water in the tub slowly turned bright red, my body growing colder with every passing second. Later that evening, they came back with a cake to celebrate my sister. And my mom was still complaining about how I was being inconsiderate, hiding in my room all day instead of eating. What she didn't know was this time, I wouldn't be bothering them ever again. 'Cause I had already died in that forgotten bathroom. After I was diagnosed with a severe bleeding disorder, I became our family's glass princess. The doctor said I wouldn't live past 5. So my parents put me first in everything, even spending their life savings on my treatments. On my 5th birthday, for the first time in a long time, there was laughter in our house. Only my little sister Poppy asked with innocent confusion, Willow, are you going to die tomorrow? That was the first time Dad ever hit her. And Mom knelt beside her, praying to God, begging for just a few more years for me. But on the day of Poppy's first day of kindergarten, all I said was that my chest hurt a little. Suddenly, my mother broke down, her hand cracking across my face. Why are you so cruel? Do you have to ruin everything for your sister? Our entire world revolves around you. Can't we have one single day to take your sister to school? If you wanna die, then just die. Stop torturing us. She hurled my pill bottles at me, grabbed Poppy's hand and slammed the door behind them. I didn't say anything. I just stared at the cut on my arm, at the blood that wouldn't stop as my body grew colder and colder. When the glass shattered, I'd instinctively raised my arm to shield my face. I stared at the gash for a couple of seconds, before I remembered the doctor's words. Sweetheart, you can never, ever get a cut. If you do, the bleeding might not stop. I rushed to find a band-aid and pressed it on. It was soaked through in less than 30 seconds. I turned to get a bandage, but blood was already dripping onto the floor. Mom loves a clean house. I couldn't make another mess for her. I frantically used my sleeve to wipe it up, but the blood just smeared across the tiles, blooming like a terrible flower. I grabbed the nearest towel and wrapped it tightly around my arm. A chill began to set in, starting in my fingertips and seeping deep into my bones. I went into the bathroom and filled the tub with hot water. Lying back in the warmth, I finally felt a little bit of relief. The blood was still flowing, staining the water a pale red. I suddenly missed my parents so much. I used my smartwatch to call my dad. It rang and rang. No answer. I tried my mom. It was loud on her end, music, the laughter of children, a world of celebration that felt a million miles away from mine. What is it? Hurry up. It's almost Poppy's turn to perform. Mom, I don't feel so good. I'm bleeding. Her voice, sharp with impatience, cut through the phone. You don't feel well again. Is it that you're never well? Unless the entire world is revolving around you. Willow, you're 8 years old. You're a big girl. Can't you be a little more considerate for once? Next second, the line went dead, the dial tone echoing in the empty bathroom. I watched the water slowly deep into crimson and felt a sudden urge to cry. Mom was right. I was always causing trouble for everyone. My sickness was trouble. My sadness was trouble. And now my bleeding was trouble. Mom's knitted cardigan was draped over the side of the tub. I gently pulled it over my face, inhaling her familiar jasmine scent. Was like when I was little, and she'd sat by my bed just like this when I had a fever. The water was growing cold. The bleeding seemed to be slowing down. It must be almost all gone. As my head started to feel fuzzy, I wondered if all my blood runs out, will I finally be okay? Mom and Dad wouldn't have to worry about their sick daughter anymore. My sister wouldn't have to give up everything for me. And I wouldn't have to pretend to be strong anymore. Wouldn't have to bite down on my own hand. to keep from crying out in pain. In the middle of the night, I curled up in the tub, feeling as safe as I must have in my mother's womb before I was born. When I opened my eyes again, I was looking down at my own small, pale body floating in the tub. So I was dead. I heard the front door open, followed by my sister's cheerful voice. Willow, I'm home. I rushed out to see them. Mom and Dad were back holding Poppy's hands. Dad was carrying a strawberry cake. He stopped short when he saw the mess in the living room. What happened here? Mom's brow furrowed. She threw a tantrum this morning. She lied about being sick because she was mad. I was taking Poppy to school. Dad's face darkened. She's getting more and more inconsiderate. I tried to explain, waving my hands frantically in front of them. No, that's not it. Willow wasn't trying to make you mad. But my hands passed right through my father's shoulder. They didn't notice a thing. Poppy pulled her hand free from Mom's and ran to my bedroom door. She knocked softly. Willow, come out and have some cake. Silence. She looked up at them. Is Willow asleep? I floated over and hugged her. Thank you, Poppy. Mom's voice was hard. She's not asleep. She's ignoring us on purpose. Leave her. We'll eat first. Dad set the cake on the dining table. Poppy stared at it, her voice small. But I want to wait for Willow. Dad opened the box, exchanging a look with Mom. If only Willow were half as thoughtful as her sister, our lives would be so much easier. He stuck 5 candles in the cake and lit them. Poppy was lifted onto a chair. And as her parents watched, she blew them out. Today was also her 5th birthday. Mom asked gently, did you make a wish, Poppy? Poppy's eyes sparkled. I did. I wish that Willow. Dad smiled and stroked her hair. If you say it out loud, it won't come true. I watched from the side, a silent observer. On my birthdays, the house always smelled of medicine. The number of candles on the cake felt more like a countdown. But Poppy's birthday finally looked like a real birthday. When it was time to cut the cake, Poppy insisted on the biggest piece. This one is for Willow. She carried the plate to my bedroom door and knocked again. Willow, come have some strawberry cake with me. Still no response. The smile on Poppy's face slowly faded. She carried the plate back to the table. Willow won't answer me, she said quietly. Suddenly, Dad reached out and snatched the plate from her hands. He threw the whole thing, the perfectly frosted slice of strawberry cake, into the trash can. He slammed his hand on the table. Fine. Then she can have nothing. Nobody is to call for her again. A few missed meals will teach her a lesson. Poppy was so startled, her eyes instantly filled with tears. Mom pulled her into her arms, glaring at Dad. Why are you yelling at her? Then she spoke softly to Poppy. It's okay, sweetie. We'll eat first. When your sister realizes she was wrong, she'll come out on her own. I knelt by the trash can looking at the discarded cake. The strawberry on top was still so fresh, now nestled among used tissues. What a waste. Strawberry was my favorite. Poppy ate her own small slice, her eyes darting toward my door every few seconds. My parents ate in a heavy silence. There were supposed to be 4 of us at the table. Now one chair was empty. I sat down in it and whispered to my sister, Happy birthday. That evening, Mom gave Poppy a bath. I stood in front of the shower curtain, my heart twisting into a knot, terrified she would pull it back and see me in the tub. Through the steam, Mom lathered soap on Poppy's back. Poppy looked up. Her wet hair stuck to her forehead. Mommy, why hasn't Willow come out yet? Mom's hands paused for a moment. She's probably sleeping, but I miss her, Poppy said in a small voice. I haven't seen her all day. Mom turned off the water, wrapped Poppy in a big towel and hugged her close. Poppy, do you ever get mad at Mommy and Daddy? Mad about what? Mom held her a little tighter. That we're always focused on Willow, that we give her the best of everything. That sometimes we don't have enough time for you. Poppy wrapped her small, damp arms around her mother's neck. No, of course not. Because Willow is sick. Her voice was serious. My teacher said today that sick people need the most care. Me and mommy and daddy have to love her together. My mother's shoulders trembled slightly. She buried her face in Poppy's towel and didn't speak for a long time. You're such a good girl, Poppy. Her voice was muffled. The truth is, your sister has had a very hard life. I pressed myself against the cold tiles as my mother continued. She was born very weak. The doctor said she might not grow up. Mom sniffled. So we were always scared. She was in pain, scared. She was sad. We just wanted to give her everything we could. Her voice dropped to a whisper. But sometimes mommy gets tired, too. Sometimes I wish you were healthier. I wish I had more time to spend with you. Poppy listened, not quite understanding. And patted her mother's back with her small hand. I crouched in the corner, transparent tears streaming down my face. I'm sorry, Mom. I was the one who wasn't considerate. If I had never existed, how much better your lives would have been with just Poppy. But they couldn't hear me. After the bath, Mom tucked Poppy into bed. Then she walked to my bedroom door and stood there for a long time. Finally, she raised her hand and knocked softly. Willow, are you asleep? I floated in front of her, wanting to reach out and touch her. But my fingertips passed through empty air. I shouldn't have yelled at you today, Willow. I was wrong. It was Poppy's first day of school. And I was just so nervous. I didn't mean to be harsh. She paused as if waiting for a reply that would never come. She sighed. I left some cake for you in the living room. It's your favorite strawberry. Make sure you eat it. She waited another few seconds before returning to her room and closing the door. I went to the living room. On the table was a small plate with a slice of cake. This strawberry on top was a little crooked. Late into the night, I watched my own small body in the tub. The water was cold now. My face as white as paper. My mother never opened the shower curtain. She didn't know that I would never eat the cake she left for me. And that I would never hear her apology. The sun rose with cruel efficiency. It didn't care that the house was holding a corpse, it filtered through the blinds just as it had every other day, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the living room. I sat on the kitchen counter, swinging my translucent legs through the cabinet doors. The slice of strawberry cake on the table had formed a dry, sugary crust overnight. The crooked strawberry looked like a small, shriveled heart. Upstairs, the alarm clock buzzed. I heard the heavy thud of my father's feet hitting the floor, the creak of the bed springs as my mother shifted. Routine. The terrifying comfort of routine. Willow. Mom's voice drifted down the stairs. It was tired, laced with the lingering annoyance of yesterday. School. You're not skipping 2 days in a row. Silence answered her. I wanted to yell back, I can't, but my voice was just a breeze that rustled the curtains. She's really pushing it, Dad grumbled. I heard the sound of water running in the master bath, the brushing of teeth. Normal sounds. Mom came down the stairs first, tying her robe. She walked into the kitchen, saw the untouched cake, and her shoulders slumped. A mixture of guilt and irritation crossed her face. She picked up the plate, sighed, and dumped the stale cake into the trash on top of the slice Dad had thrown away the night before. Willow, she called again, sharper this time. She walked to my bedroom door. It was empty. The bed was made, the sheets pristine. She frowned, confusion finally piercing her frustration. Tom. Is she in the bathroom? Probably, Dad yelled from upstairs. Mom walked to the bathroom door. The handle was locked, not by a lock, but by the friction of old wood that stuck in humidity. She knocked. Willow, open the door. We need to talk about yesterday. Nothing. Willow, I'm not playing games. She rattled the knob. I floated behind her, whispering, don't look. Please, Mommy, don't look. I didn't want her to see the red water. I didn't want to be the mess she hated. She put her shoulder to the door and shoved. It gave way with a pop. The smell hit her first. It wasn't just the metallic tang of blood, it was the smell of cold dampness, of something that had been stagnant for too long. Mom took one step in. The shower curtain was still drawn, a wall of white plastic. But the floor. I had tried to clean it. I had tried so hard. But the smear of crimson where I had dragged my sleeve was dry and dark, rust-colored against the white tiles. The bloody towel I had wrapped around my arm lay in a heap like a dead animal. Willow. Her voice wasn't angry anymore. It was small. Terrified. She reached out a trembling hand and pulled back the curtain. The scream that tore from her throat didn't sound human. It was a primal, jagged sound that shattered the morning peace, louder than the glass that had cut me. It was the sound of a soul ripping in half. I watched as her knees gave way. She didn't faint, she collapsed, scrabbling at the side of the tub, her hands splashing into the cold, pink water. She grabbed my shoulders, my cold, stiff shoulders, and pulled my wet body against her chest. No, 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 no. She rocked back and forth, soaking her robe in the bloody water. Wake up. Willow, baby, wake up. Dad came running, thunder on the stairs. Elena, what? He froze in the doorway. His face went gray. I saw the moment his heart stopped beating, just for a second. Call 911. Mom shrieked, looking back at him, her face smeared with my blood. Thomas, call them. She's cold. She's so cold. I stood in the corner, hugging my arms. I'm sorry, I whispered. I tried to be quiet. The next few hours were a blur of chaotic noise. Strangers in uniforms swarmed our house. They were loud. Their boots left mud on the clean floors Mom loved so much. They made Mom let go of me. It took 2 officers to pry her fingers off my arm. They lifted my body out of the water and laid it on a black bag. I looked so small. Was I always that small? Poppy woke up. She stood at the top of the stairs, clutching her teddy bear, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Mommy, she called out. I flew up the stairs faster than I ever could have run in life. I stood in front of her, waving my hands. Go back to your room, Poppy. Don't go down there. But she walked right through me. A police officer saw her before she saw the bathroom. He rushed up the stairs, blocking her view with his wide back. Hey there, sweetie. Let's go back to your room, okay? Where's Willow? Poppy asked, tilting her head. I heard Mommy screaming. Willow is going to the hospital, the officer said, his voice cracking slightly. Downstairs, the questions began. A detective with kind eyes but a hard jaw was talking to my parents in the living room. When was the last time you saw her? Yesterday morning, Dad stammered. He was sitting on the sofa, his head in his hands. Before we took our youngest to school. And when you returned? We thought she was asleep, Mom whispered. She was wrapped in a blanket, staring at a spot on the wall. She hides in her room when she's upset. We didn't want to disturb her. You didn't check on her. For dinner. We thought she was sulking. Dad snapped, then his voice broke. We thought she was just being difficult. I threw out her cake. The detective wrote something down. The scratching of his pen sounded like judgment. We found this, another officer said, walking in with a plastic bag. Inside was my phone. And the pill bottles Mom had thrown. And this, the officer added. He held up a smartwatch. My watch. Did she try to contact anyone? The detective asked. Dad looked up, his eyes bloodshot. He reached for the watch, his hands shaking. He pressed the side button. Outgoing call, Dad. 4:12 p.m. Outgoing call, Mom. 4:14 p.m. I watched the color drain from his face until he looked like a ghost himself. She called, Dad whispered. She called me. He pulled his own phone from his pocket. He scrolled through the notifications. There it was. A missed call. I had it on silent, he choked out. For the play. Poppy's play. Mom grabbed her phone. She stared at the call log. I answered, she breathed, the memory crashing over her. There was so much noise. I told her to stop being selfish. I hung up. I hung up on her. She let out a wail that made the officers look away. She told me she was bleeding. She told me, and I told her to grow up. I wanted to touch her shoulder. It's okay, Mom. I was being trouble. I didn't want to ruin the day. But my hand passed through her, leaving only a faint chill that made her shiver violently. The funeral was small. It rained, which felt cliché, but the sky seemed to understand the mood. My casket was white. It looked like a pearl. Poppy held Dad's hand. She was wearing a black dress that was slightly too big for her. She didn't cry. She just looked confused. Is Willow in there? She asked loudly during the silence. Sure, Dad said, tears streaming down his face. Is she coming back? No, honey. She's with the angels now. Is she mad at us? That question made Mom buckle. Her knees hit the wet grass. She hadn't spoken much since that morning. She just stared at things, my shoes by the door, my toothbrush in the cup. I sat on top of my own headstone, swinging my legs. Willow Marie Evans. Beloved daughter. I'm not mad, I told Poppy, though she couldn't hear me. I'm just cold. After the funeral, the house became a museum of regret. They didn't move my things. My bed remained unmade, exactly as I had left it the morning I died. The pill bottles were placed back on the nightstand, lined up like soldiers guarding a ghost. But the worst part was the bathroom. They scrubbed it. They hired professionals to come in and remove the biohazard, but Mom would still go in there at night. She would sit on the edge of the tub, running her fingers over the grout, looking for spots they missed. She was looking for me. A month passed. Then 2. The grief didn't get better, it just changed shape. At first, it was a tsunami. Now, it was a rot, eating the foundation of the house. Dad started working late. He couldn't stand the silence at dinner. When he came home, he smelled like whiskey and peppermint. Mom stopped cooking. They ordered takeout that sat uneaten on the counter. And Poppy. Poppy became the invisible child. Mommy, can you play dolls? Poppy asked one evening. She was holding 2 dolls, one with blonde hair like hers, and one with dark hair like mine. Not now, Poppy, Mom said, staring out the window at the rain. Daddy, look at my drawing. Later, Poppy, Dad grumbled, staring at the TV without really watching it. I hovered near the ceiling, screaming without a voice. Look at her. You still have her. Don't make her me. One night, the tension finally snapped. It started over a glass of spilled milk. Poppy knocked it over at dinner. White liquid pooled on the table, dripping onto the floor. Dad slammed his fist on the table. Damn it, Poppy. Can't you be careful? Poppy shrank back, her lip trembling. Don't yell at her. Mom snapped, her voice brittle. Someone has to parent her, Elena. You've been a zombie for 3 months. I'm grieving my daughter, Thomas. Or have you forgotten her already? Forgotten her? Dad stood up, his chair screeching against the floor. I see her every time I close my eyes. I hear my phone ringing in my nightmares. But we have a living daughter who is starving for attention. Oh, so now you care about attention? Mom stood up too, her eyes wild. You threw her cake in the trash. You told her she could starve. And you told her she was selfish for dying. Dad roared. The room went deadly silent. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Poppy burst into tears. She slid off her chair and ran to her room. I hate you, Mom whispered, her voice trembling. I hate us. She walked out the back door into the rain. Dad slumped back into his chair, burying his face in his hands. I followed Poppy. She was under her covers, sobbing into her pillow. I want Willow, she cried. I want my sister. I lay down next to her on the small bed. I wrapped my arms around her. I concentrated with everything I had, pushing all my energy, all my love, into that embrace. I'm here, Poppy. I'm right here. For a second, the room temperature dropped 10 degrees. The air shimmered. Poppy stopped crying. She sniffed, looking around. Willow, she whispered. She reached out and touched the spot where my arm was. You're cold, she said softly. I realized then that I wasn't just a memory. I was a force. And if I stayed, I would destroy them. My presence was keeping them in the past. Every time I tried to comfort Mom, she felt a chill that made her think of the grave. Every time I hovered near Dad, the electronics would glitch, reminding him of the phone call. I had to do something. I had to fix this before I left. The opportunity came on Poppy's 6th birthday. The year had looped back around. The day was cursed. No one acknowledged it. There was no cake. No balloons. Just a heavy, gray morning. Poppy sat on the floor of the living room, playing by herself. Mom was in bed. Dad was at work, or at a bar, it was hard to tell these days. I watched Poppy climb onto a chair to reach the high cabinet where Mom hid the matches. She wanted to light a candle on a cupcake she had saved from school lunch. She struck a match. It flared bright and dangerous. She dropped it. It landed on a stack of old newspapers Dad had piled in the corner. The fire caught instantly. My spirit screamed. No. The flames licked up the wall, hungry and fast. Poppy backed away, terrified. Mommy, she screamed. But Mom was in a deep, medicated sleep upstairs. I looked at the fire. It was real heat. Energy. I was energy too. I focused on the smoke detector. I flew up to it, shoving my hands into the plastic casing, merging my essence with the circuits. Scream. I commanded it. Scream for her. Beep. 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 The alarm blared, piercing the house. Mom didn't stir. The fire was spreading to the curtains. Poppy was coughing, curled in a ball on the floor. I had to move something physical. I had to. I flew to the kitchen counter. A glass vase of water stood there, Mom's roses, dead and dried. I grabbed it. My hand slipped through. No. I am Willow Evans. I am strong. I thought of the pain of the bleeding. I thought of the cold tub. I channeled all that suffering into one push. The vase smashed onto the floor. The sound was explosive. Upstairs, Mom jolted awake. The alarm was blaring. The smell of smoke hit her. Poppy. She flew down the stairs. The living room was filling with black smoke. She saw the flames, and then she saw Poppy on the floor. She didn't freeze this time. She didn't hesitate. She was a mother lion. She grabbed a blanket, smothered the flames on the curtains, and then scooped Poppy up in her arms, running out the front door just as the fire truck sirens, alerted by the neighbors, began to wail. They sat on the curb, covered in soot. The firemen had put the fire out quickly, the house was saved, mostly. Dad pulled up in his car, screeching to a halt. He ran to them, falling to his knees, wrapping his arms around both of them. I thought I lost you, he sobbed. I thought I lost you both. Mom was holding Poppy so tight her knuckles were white. She looked at the house. I heard a crash, she whispered. Before I came down. Something broke. She looked at Dad. The vase. The one with the dead roses. Poppy looked up, her face streaked with ash. Willow pushed it, she said simply. Dad froze. What? Willow, Poppy said. She was floating by the ceiling. She looked sad. Then she pushed the vase to wake you up, Mommy. Mom and Dad looked at each other. The skepticism that usually defined their adult lives was gone, replaced by a fragile, terrifying hope. She saved us, Mom whispered. Tears cut tracks through the soot on her face. She's still looking out for us. That night, they stayed in a hotel. But the next day, they went back to the house. The living room was scorched, the smell of smoke heavy in the air. But the atmosphere had changed. The heaviness was lifting. We can't keep doing this, Dad said, standing in the middle of the ruined room. We can't keep dying with her. Mom nodded. She walked over to the mantel, where a picture of me sat, one where I was pale and bruising, but smiling. She wouldn't want this, Mom said. She tried so hard to hide her pain so we would be happy. And look at us. She turned to Poppy. Poppy, come here. Poppy walked over. Mom knelt down. We are so sorry, she said, her voice shaking. We forgot that you are here. We forgot that you need us. I miss her too, Poppy said. I know, Dad said, joining them. We all do. But we have to let her go. They decided to have a belated birthday party. Not just for Poppy. For both of us. They bought a strawberry cake. Fresh. With bright red frosting. They sat at the table, the three of them. They lit 6 candles. 3 for Poppy, Dad said. And 3 for Willow. I stood by the window. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the room. I didn't feel cold anymore. I felt light. Make a wish, Mom said. Poppy closed her eyes. I wish Willow can be happy. And I wish Mommy and Daddy can be happy. She blew out the candles. The smoke drifted up, curling into shapes. Dad cut the cake. He put a slice on a plate. For Willow, he said softly. But he didn't put it in front of an empty chair. He walked to the back door, opened it, and set the plate on the porch railing, out in the open air. We love you, sweetheart, Mom called out into the twilight. You don't have to worry about us anymore. We're going to be okay. Poppy is going to be okay. You can go now, Willow, Dad said, his voice breaking but strong. You're a big girl. You did good. I walked out onto the porch. I looked at the cake. I looked at my family, standing in the doorway, their arms around each other. I realized the bleeding had stopped a long time ago. The pain was gone. The cold was gone. I leaned forward and kissed Poppy on the forehead. She blinked and touched the spot. Bye-bye, Willow, she whispered. I kissed Mom's cheek. She inhaled sharply, smelling jasmine. I kissed Dad's hand. Then, I turned toward the yard. The shadows were lengthening, but they weren't scary. They looked like a path. I took a step. Then another. With each step, I became less like a ghost and more like the wind. I was the rustle in the leaves. I was the warmth of the setting sun. I was the memory that would no longer hurt, but would only remind them to love harder. As I faded into the light, I heard one last thing, the sound of laughter. Poppy had gotten frosting on Dad's nose. Mom was wiping it off, chuckling through her tears. They were eating the cake. And finally, so was I.